Hi, welcome. My name is Camilla, and today I would like to talk to you about trauma. What is a trauma, and how do we heal from trauma? In my work as a spiritual teacher, a healer, and a therapist, of course, I come across many people experiencing trauma and healing stories. And what I would like to start with today is to tell you that it doesn't matter how long you had your suffering, how deep it goes, and in how many ways you have experienced it through your life, for you to be able to heal it. So the bigger the trauma is, it doesn't make it more difficult in one way. And healing can happen in an instant. But for most of us, it's a journey, it's an ongoing journey, and we heal in layers. So what causes trauma? So trauma is an inner reaction to an outer circumstance, an outer event. And it doesn't have to be, might be this big, dramatic thing happen to you. It might be that abuse or that loss, but it many times is this small things. It is this things, everyday life that happen to you as you grow up, because nobody goes through life without trauma in one way or another. I have clients who comes to me with this great suffering, and they can't understand because they think they had this perfect childhood. And this is not to cause any blame or guilt to all the parents out there, because I'm a mother myself. And how to heal as a parent, I will come back to that in another video, because that's a great journey, and sometimes a great suffering as well. But just for us to come into this world as spirits, to be in a physical form, to be born, it's a great trauma in itself. So many times when I see people, they often have this idea why they are suffering. It's this happened to me last year, or this happened to me 5 years ago. And when we look into it, and if it comes to our knowing the root cause of the suffering, many times it's not this biggest event that they think about. Many times it stems from a much earlier childhood happening, and we just repeat the same thing over and over again, and oftentimes the circumstances get bigger, the events get bigger. And it doesn't matter if you remember the root cause, what happened to you or not. It doesn't remember for you to be healed. So how do you know you have a trauma? It's by if you are suffering or not, if you have anxiety, if you have depression, if you live life in resistance, if you have this, what we call unwanted emotions, these negative emotions. If we are not where we would like to be in life, if life is not flowing, if we're not experiencing this joy, this peace, this abundance. And this is how you know you have a trauma. And what happens when you experience pain in one way or another? Because many times or often we are not taught how to fully experience our feelings, the feelings that we label as negative feelings, the feelings that are painful, that we learn are painful. We are not taught how to be with them, how to experience them fully. So when we try to shut them down, when we try to suppress them in one way or another, we start with this mechanism to cope with them. They don't go away, of course not. They are just frozen in time. So they keep this vibration, and it is this vibration that's is attracting the same vibration again and again into our life, the same events, people, circumstances that holds this vibration. So this is the law of attraction. And many people misunderstand it because they think that it just had to be what I, with my everyday conscious mind, think about. And so we think we have all these positive thoughts in our head, and still in our subconscious mind we keep this vibration, and that's the strongest magnetism that attracts these events into our life. So it might feel or sound a bit hopeless that how can we deal with it when we don't even know what it is. But the great thing is that we don't need to know. We just have to identify that I'm not where I would like to be. I'm not my full true self. I experience all this suffering in my life, in terms of relationships, in terms of circumstances, in terms of events. So the thing is, it doesn't matter, the beautiful thing is, it doesn't matter how long you had these feelings, it doesn't matter how deep the suffering goes, it doesn't matter in how many ways in your life you can see the evidence of your suffering, or how big the trauma was. The beautiful thing is that you can heal from it all. You can heal from it all. And it might happen in just a blink of an eye. But for most of us, it is a journey, a healing journey. And how do we heal from trauma? So you see, there is a part of us, our true self, that came into physical form. So we were not made when we came into this world. We were before, and we are gonna be after, right? So this part of us is our true self, and that part of us has never suffered any trauma. So no matter what happened to you, no matter how much you suffered, this part of you, your true self, goes beyond all those experiences. Has always been untouched by your reaction to inner or outer circumstances. And when you start to lean into your true self, when you start to actually experience your true self, that's when you start to identify yourself with your true self. Not the broken one, not the hurt one, not the frightened one, the angry one, the suffering one. The one who always been there. This quiet witness of your human journey. When you start to experience this part of you and identify yourself as this true essence, you will notice how things are shifting in your life. Because you then move out of this vibration of the trauma, and you start to vibrate in a higher frequency. And I don't want to label it as bad or good. It's just different. It's just another energy. And everything is energy, everything is vibration. So when you start to vibrate from this, your true essence, you start to bring that, you start to be a match for this vibration to come into your life. So these broken parts of you who has been broken because of the pain, the trauma you've been through, are started coming together as one. And you start to engage in life as one whole being, directly aligned to source. Because your true self, your higher self, is always in direct contact with source. Because it's source essence, it's divine essence. So when that is what you are vibrating, that is what is coming into your life. So it doesn't mean that you have to heal to have a beautiful life. In one sense, it's not. It's more about identifying yourself with a part who's never been broken. He's never been broken. It doesn't even have any scars. So the traumas is actually a gateway, a doorway for us to come into that knowing of ourselves as this light beings, this presence of divine essence that we are. Because when things are getting too painful, when we are suffering too much, when we start to have enough, when we truly start to have enough, and we think there has to be another way, right? That's what we start to looking for. And it's always here for us to remember. But how will we get there? And I love the hows, because there's so many teaching out there about how it works. But how do we get there? So it might sound a bit simpler than it is in one way, but it is simple at the same time. It is to be willing to have the faith that a part of us, our true self, has never been affected, never been broken. Even though we can't feel it, because many times we can't, the suffering has been too big, it has been everything we know. So how can we know the non-suffering part of us? So the first step is to be willing, to believe, to have the faith that it might be so. It might be so. That might be a part of me who is whole and complete and is beyond this trauma, this drama that I am going through. Who is beyond wrong and right. And when we have the faith in that is our true nature, that door is going to open for you. I promise you this. The door is going to open up. And the light will start to come in. Because you are willing, and it has to do with your willingness. It's all about your willingness. So it's like Spirit is asking you to open your hands, and give your pain to me. And you are keep holding on to your pain and your suffering because you want to identify yourself with it. But as soon as you are willing that it might be another way around, it might be different than I thought. And Spirit tells you, how can I give you the truth when you so desperately are keeping on to illusions, don't want to go off the illusions. So again, open your hands. So your willingness is the first step for the light to be able to enter you, for the light to be able to show you who you truly are. And that's where the magic happens. So it always starts with your willingness. And many times people are not willing. You're willing when you had enough. And that's the blind faith. I don't know if I believe in this. I haven't seen any proof of this, but I'm willing to give it a try. I'm opening up my hands for the light. And for us to be able to experience ourselves beyond all the voices of suffering, all the scars, all the pain, we have to come to stillness. We have to silence our mind, our senses, because our senses and our mind is screaming very loudly of all the trauma, all the pain that we're experiencing. And those voices are always the loudest. And the voices of our true nature, the voice of God, of spirit, of truth, of peace, of light, is a quiet voice, a very soft, gentle, still voice. So you have to be very willing to hear it. And you have to come into a stillness. And open up yourself to and be willing to receive it. And you have to come into this meeting with yourself. For how can you experience who you truly are when you don't show up for that encounter, that meeting? Your true self is always there waiting for you to experience your true nature, the peace, the abundance, the joy, the happiness, the flow in your life. But you have to show up. You have to be willing. You have to be there, right? As with everything in life. So, when you experience the trauma, you start to function out of this painful experience, this vibration that we experience as painful in a neurological plane. You start to function. This starts to be your map, your GPS system. And when you come into knowing, coming into experiencing your true self, you rewrite your map. You start to experiencing life, to move, to function from this new map, this new GPS system. So the old map who took you down these dark roads before is now, the new map is showing you these highways, these avenues that is filled with life, love, joy, peace, light. So I would like to ask you today to ask yourself, are you willing to experience your true self? Are you willing to show up for that meeting, that encounter? Are you willing to let go of everything you thought you were, of everything you're holding on to, and just be very, very honest with yourself? What am I holding on to? What is it that I don't want to let go of when I'm asked? Beyond wrong and right. Am I willing to, in this now moment, to just let go of it and come back to my true self? And I'm willing to do this again and again and again, because this is what the journey is about. How willing are we to come back to our true self? Because we are going to let go of it. We are going to let go of it. We are going to get into the illusions again. We are going to get into the suffering. But are we willing to come back again and again, no matter what? Ask yourself. And I would now like to offer you a light language healing that will move beyond your conscious mind to your unconscious mind, to start releasing the imprints of trauma. So just come into a comfortable position. And just be aware of your breath. Relax your body. Because it's by relaxing your body, you surrender into this moment. You surrender into the experiencing of your true self, being able to come into your physical form. Good. Just center yourself. And you can quietly or out loud just say to yourself that I'm open, I'm willing to receive. And I ask for this healing, this transmission, this activation to go to all lifetimes, all dimensions, all bodies, all mind, Alpha to Omega, and clear, cleanse, transmute, heal, and activate what is ready to be released in this moment, what is ready to be healed. For the highest good of all, for the divine will, for you to come back to your true self, your true essence, to release and let go. Anaya kiniyata ya kiriyata naya sikir kiniyana yana. Orno yo horko to korono yo torto yo to yo noi. Akinia draya niati kiniatri kiata ya naya taranayati. Nikinia rana soskorroto no yoto okono yoto. Hono yo arana ya katia tirinia. Akinia naya tirekinia tayata kinia taranaya. Rohuno yo darakinia tarakatayane kinia taranaya. So this is a reset. So what I hear is that this is your birthright to experience your true self, to live from a place of peace, of abundance, of joy, of flow, to experience oneness. So this is like putting the reset button. Orana ki sikirkiti atukuno yotorono furo takane aratane ya kini ya na suskorana yati yatarana yakort. Yo horo no soskorroto yo oratana ya kiarana ya. Nitraya naya kiti ya narana ya hikini yatarana ya toroto yoko. Yo horo no yo tarana ya tarata kini ya narana ya. Yodoro fosokoratayana. Midraya tekini na suskorratayana kiataranaya. And what I get is that this is easy. This is the easy part. The hardest part is actually to live with the pain, to trying to avoid the pain, to trying to hide from experiencing the pain of the trauma. So it's all you with you. It's nothing outside of you. And it's just here. The experience of the feelings is here for you to experience it. That's why it's coming again and again into your life, for you to recognize it, experience it fully, and it will heal, it will go away. And you will start to vibrate at another level. So this is the easy part. You've been through the hard part. You've been through the war, the struggling. The war is over. Karkanaya ratakiniyatanaya sirkitataranayata. Yoranakiniyanana sikirkitatatatatatatata. Yohoranatetajakana. Then there is so much joy. Because this is you coming home to you. And it's a happy homecoming, right? Naraya kiniyata ya kikisikirana ya tart. Ayata na suskurana matikiara na. Hana ya turufuna ya kanaya takiniana. Rana kititiara tatatat. Yuhurana ya kiniana na. Suskurata kinia. Inia ha ayana na suskurata ya na. Ora kini hiniati. Ashtar nayati kititeriti ikniatarata. Horro konoyoto. Ayakanaya. Iskiriti na. Remember who you are. Remember who you are. Remember who you are. And so it is. The truth identified. Satnam. Thank you. Thank you for being here with me. I hope it helped. And if it did, please subscribe to my channel so I can help you further. For you to remember who you are. To experience yourself as the one who was never broken. To move out of suffering. To start living. That's my wish for you, and that's why I'm here. And you are not alone. We are here together. Dear one, thank you. Thank you.